Welcome to the Candid Conversation Show. I'm your host, Marilyn Fontaine, artist and creative coach for women who want success and income with ease. Hi, this is Marilyn and welcome to the Candid Conversation Show, episode 18. So last week we talked about new identity, old beliefs, and we talked about, I covered the black tax and my experience with forming this new identity, being at a different income level and living back with my old beliefs, and how that impacted me and how it impacts people of colour. I'm taking off my bracelets here because I tried to record this about an hour ago and it just wasn't working because of the noise, and how that impacts us on our journey and how it's intrinsic in us that we have a frightened, we must look after everybody else and we must stay small because it keeps us in the same place and it keeps us connected to our families and friends, even if our journey is to go out. And so this one follows on the hero's journey, which was based on Joseph Campbell, his book called The Hero of a Thousand Faces. Oh, my stomach is rumbling. And, Campbell they've talked, since he's written this book, they've talked about his involvement as a white supremacist and anti-Semite and various other stuff. I'm not going to go into that today. You can look that up, but I still think the work is really important, what he created in terms of our personal journey through life, and running a business, being a creative, being a spiritual person. Everybody goes through the hero's journey. There is the heroine's journey, and again, I'm not going to cover that because I want to stick with my knowledge and my experience of the hero's journey rather than trying to dissect this process. I'll probably cover it in another episode, but right now I want to focus on the hero's journey. One of the really brilliant books that details this for women is Clarissa, Pinkola, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, Estes, The Women Who Run with the Wolves. And that really covers the hero's journey with different myths and fables. And going back to the hero's journey, Campbell looked at the different journeys that a lot of mythical characters undertook, and they were always leaving the familiar, going through an adventure, having some trials, meeting a guide, and then having the last fight, and then returning back with wisdom. And so this is the same principle that most myths and fables have, is this journey. And it is the same journey that we have in life. I mean, we talk about becoming, we talk about being this spiritual person, but we talk about it in terms of the end result, which actually it's the journey that is the most important. Becoming a sage is being the sum total of being a hero or being the person that is going through this journey. And so there's people talk about 3 stages, but there is like 12 steps of the hero's journey. 12 to 17 steps of the hero's journey. And I'll cover them briefly, but sometimes there's 7 steps, there's 17, there's 9 steps. I just want to talk about the whole reason of the journey, and what we experience. So the hero's journey, the 3 main steps are the departure, so leaving the ordinary world, then the initiation, and then the return. And that is really important, the main thing to learn. So, if you want to look at the hero's journey, look at your children. If you have children, look at your children's films. Classic example. So I'm going to break it down into the 12 steps. So, and they've got 3 acts. So Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, which I covered before, which is leaving the world, going into the next world and the initiation, the trials and tribulations, and then returning home. So the first stage is going into the ordinary, leaving the ordinary world. So you're leaving what's safe, what's normal, and the hero leaves the ordinary world. They could get lost. What's that brilliant film, the cartoon in Mexico where Coco, okay? So he has to go. He leaves the ordinary world, and the hero has to go and do something. They have to go and get the golden fleece. They have to go and get a picture. They have to go and get the golden goblet. They have to go and find the golden child, But the hero, the third stage is the hero doesn't really want to do that. They just want to be at home, be safe. And they're really remorseful that they actually they're in this place that they just don't know. They really want their safety. And along the way, they meet the mentor. They meet a guide. It could be a dog. It could be, you think of Shrek. And you think of, the donkey and the cat. Those were the mentors. Also, they could be the allies anyway. So, and then while you meet the mentor, you cross the threshold. So you start going into the other world. So you're moving from the normal into the mundane, perhaps the spiritual as well. The spiritual place, the mystical place, the place where things are not the same. They're not the same that you know them to be. The other world is so different. It's so different to what you're used to. And it's here where the terrain is different, and all the stages where you thought, okay, X means X means Y. So, for example, you something happens, you leave the plane, you get on a plane or you get on a boat. It's that point. There's no turning back. You cross the threshold. You're going into another world. You're, like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, when they go into the wardrobe and they go into Narnia. I love these programs. I'm a magical child. Harry Potter, my favourite. So you're going into a world and you don't know what's going to happen in this world. But all you know is that you can't turn back now. You have to go forward to get home. Okay? And then you have the tests. So that's where you have to learn the new rules, and you have to get to grips with the new world. You may have to get, Harry Potter had to go and fight the troll. He had to go into the Forbidden Forest. He had to get used to the school. He had to go in, some people have to go into a maze. Some people have to go into Pan's Labyrinth. In Coco, the young boy had to go, I can't remember his name, but he had to go into the world of the dead, and to go for all these different things, all these different, run away from these people that are attacking him. And this is where you have to go through. You have to go through something quite terrible. And so your allies and enemies, they're all in this world where you're fighting. Jason and the Argonauts, Jason and the Golden Fleece had to fight Medusa, the Harpies. He had the 3-headed or 7-headed dragon. He had the skeletons, everything, like so many different things. So these are our allies, our enemies, our friends. These are all the different things. We're actually in the world. We're actually fighting. We're doing this. And then we get the test. Can we make it through? And then we get closer. We get closer to the goal. Okay. And then there's a the inmost cave is where, oh, my stomach, I'm sorry. It's really rumbling. Where you're really tested. And it's all about, you know, how you approach your challenge. Yeah? It's how you approach your challenge. How you do this. You know. And sometimes you may get defeated the first time. So what you set out to do, you didn't get to finish. And then you feel really low, you know. It's like, I you know, they call it the belly of the whale. And it's not worked out how you thought it's worked out. And you resign yourself. And it's almost like, I'm literally going to be finished here, not working. But you push through. You push through because you're at your rock bottom. You're at your rock bottom, and you are feeling like shit, basically. And it's here that you fight the last fight. You know, you fight the last fight, and you start crossing the threshold back. Because you've won. You've made it. You've won. And so you take the road back. And then there is a resurrection where you have the final test, where it's like, let's just test to see if you've really got it. Because with this final test, this fight, you've learned how to lose. You learned how to come back from adversity. So now you can take all this and have the last test. And with that last test, and that's normally where you see in films where the heroes just said, I'm just not going to do anything but move forward. Even though you're tired, but you move forward. And then that's when you start returning home with the prize, with the gift, with the elixir, because which is the, you know, returning home with the gifts, the learning, the wisdom. And then you return back, but you're a different person, and you come mastering 2 worlds. And then you have the freedom. You have the freedom to come back. Now, within this, there is different other sub-stories, and I will leave an explanation in the bio. I've just really done a quick term of temptation, you know, of what happens. There's also, you know, stages where the person doesn't want to return, the atonement with the father, connecting with one, the woman is a temptress, so gender specific, we know, but you know, where you meet the hero meets the goddess, or you know, the wise intuitive part, and then there's another part where they meet somebody, or it's a metaphor for temptation, and the hero has to conquer that. So, but that's all part of the road of trials. That's all within the road of trials. So the hero literally calls to adventure. They get a guardian or support. They cross the unknown, the threshold, with the helper. They go into a dark, you know, they have temptations, trials, and meet all sorts of people and heroes. And they get to a point where they have to fight. And they have to fight, and then they have a rebirth. Then they're transformed, and they're atoned, and then they return back to the known with the gifts. The gift of the goddess, they call it. And that's the hero's journey. And this is our journey. This is our journey when we are creating a business. This is our journey when we're developing our spirituality. This is our journey when we're growing. And so when we have a call to adventure, the call is when we know something isn't right. It's the whisper of, I really want to do something else. You know, this old belief in new identity, it's that journey towards that. That's what the hero's journey is. It's, I really want to do something else. I really want to put this product out. I really want to create this painting. But I can't do it because all the various reasons and conditionings, I can't do it. But we get sacked from our job, or we get laid off, or we have a breakup that spurs us to go within. And so what we was avoiding because we couldn't do it, you know, or we get an illness and we have to go within because we get a dark night of the soul. And so we have, and that's the adventure. And that's when I see clients come to me because they're at the beginning of the hero's journey. They've either heeded the call, or the call is within them and they don't know what's happening. And that's when I see somebody will come to a consult and then they will say, I want to work with you, but I don't know why. Something is calling me. Something. Because it's that phenomenon of the hero's journey. And so by booking me, they know that they've got some sort of help. So I become the helper. I become the helper. And so when they enlist my help, they want me to guide them to a place of unknown. But I can't tell them where they are. I can just go with them and walk through to the unknown with them. So they don't know what this journey could be, or they may know. So they know that they just want to start a business, or they want to develop their spirituality, or they just want to have some clarity with their job. So very rarely is their job, it's their business. That's my client, right? Business and spirituality. So, but they cross the threshold, and I'm there to guide them because they know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. So I'm there along the way working with them, but I'm not the rescuer. I'm there to guide them, to answer the right questions. So they could want to start a business and they may have to go and research, or they may have to retrain to find what they need. And I had this client who, this was a few years back, she came to me and she was really unhappy and she didn't know what she wanted. All she knows, she wanted to stop the unhappiness. But she wanted to be in touch with her spirituality. And the journey took her from getting in touch with what she didn't want, deconditioning herself, to travelling, to going on different workshops and retreats to just develop her spirituality. And then she was able to give herself permission through all these turns and the tears and the upset to come to know herself. And now she's working with other people. And if she hadn't gone through this journey and the effort was brilliant, yes, she may have been good to help other people, but now it's embedded in her. She's done that walk because she's returned with the gift of things happen and it's part of the journey. And so at the helper mentor stage, I just help and guide clients through whatever twist and turn. And you see this in the films as well, because the guide is there, but they're not doing a journey. They are just guiding. But then you would also get somebody else to help you on your journey, to actually walk through the labyrinth with you. So the mentor is sometimes in sight. If you think about Harry Potter and the head of the school, and you look at Wizard of Oz, the so-called White Witch, and then you look at Cinderella, Fairy Godmother. They come in and out, so they're there on the sides, but they're not actually walking that journey physically with the hero. The hero has to find their own helpers, their own characters for their own play. And that's what you will find. You will find who are your allies, your enemies, and your trials and tribulations in your unknown world. And they may be new people that come into your life, not just the people from the known. And so you, as a client, you will have to go through the experiences so you can complete your transformational journey. And those people that you encounter on the outside, they represent even projected parts of yourself or your learning, your experiences that you need to learn. So they represent the behaviors that you need to overcome, maybe the behaviors that you need to change, or the behaviors you may need to transform. So, you meet the angry dog and you stare it down in the face and you realise that there's residual anger inside of you that needs to be fought, that needs to be overcome and transformed so you can move forward. So they're all different aspects of the personality that you are fighting against, the consciousness. It's the soul's journey. And so when you fight all these people or these aspects and these creatures, there's a point where you feel, low because you feel nothing is working. But it's because you're in between life and death, metaphorically speaking. So everything feels wrong. The business is not working. Everything, you was on a high at the beginning, you was getting all this new knowledge, these new experiences, and all of a sudden everything just feels negative. We call it the tower moment, but it can happen before your call to adventure. But you have it in the unknown, this new place. And that's when you question yourself and say, this is not meant to be happening because I did everything right. No, it is meant to be happening because it is part of the learning. It's part of the journey. And in this age of social media, we're told that our hero's journey has got to be smooth on top of a mountaintop in Thailand somewhere in the lotus position. That is not the hero's journey. That is a physical, constructed representation of peace. That is that's the atonement. That's the end. But we tend to create that physical representation whilst we're in our hero's journey as a way of trying to make ourselves feel better and to beat ourselves with as well, to compare, when that is not the hero's journey. So when you are thinking about your hero's journey, it's always done without the gaze of social media, even though we can document it in social media, but it's not a match for what we really experience. And so when you get so low, even with the fights that you've been doing, you have your transformation because you have one more push. It's like giving birth to a baby. It's that last push that you need to do, and you don't think you can do it, and then you push through. And then that's where you have your atonement. You come back with the gift because you've completed that last trial. So you've put that piece of work out. You've created that artwork where you've had to challenge so many belief systems by putting this material out, by putting this work out. And it doesn't matter. It's not about, it's got to be a hit, because that was when you was in the known. That was the thinking then. But when you're in the unknown, you are in it. And all you know is that you've got to create this piece of work and put it out there. You're not worried about how many likes it's going to have and how much money you're going to make from it. You just want to do the work because that's what you're called to do. And you would use every ounce of your energy to get this out. And this is the last fight. Because by the time you reach the other side of that fight, the atonement part, you know who you are. And you know what you have to offer. And it does not, what's the word I'm trying to say? It doesn't depend on your presence on social media. It depends on what you have to offer. And that's where that surety, that groundedness and that certainty comes, because you know you're here to offer something. If they shut down the internet tomorrow, you would still have this thing, this gift, this wisdom, this learning, this challenge, this grace that you've achieved through your journey. And you're returning back to the known, but you know you walk in both worlds, because you have gone into the unknown and you found yourself there. You found yourself in the unknown. You found your real self in the unknown, and you come back to present that to the world. And no matter how many times you may fall, because you've created yourself from the inside out, you've returned home. Nothing can stop you in this journey. And it's really important to understand, when you're going through this journey, this is real work. And this is why a lot of people do not take the choice of counselling or coaching. And they're two different things. They're two different things. But they both involve the hero's journey, because they both involve going into the unknown. They both involve challenge. They both involve returning with wisdom and being in both worlds. They both require you to know yourself. They're just different ways of doing it. You could go on a long hike, and have the hero's journey experience. I've heard people go and they've walked and they've gone on hiked, and it's been transformative. And so somebody's been in a relationship, and that again has really transformed them through the hero's journey. So we have the ability to do this. And when you approach your journey, your business, and you're going through these challenges, they are there to lead you back to ease. And underneath, what is behind ease? Love. Is love for yourself, because you want a better way. And so sometimes that call to adventure may be a tower moment where you are forced to look inside and to start the journey. But other times you may just have some curiosity. And within that curiosity, that's when you can just let go and see where it takes you. Because your consciousness is the best adventure playground you will find. And so that's it. That's the episode today. Talking about the hero's journey. Really important. Really, it's integral in our development. This is a story of life. And so, let me know what you think about this episode. If you've got any comments, my stomach is still rumbling, but it's also processing as I speak, which is really important. But yes, let me know how you feel, how you felt that this episode hit. If you want to know how to start the hero's journey, or want to know where you are on the hero's journey, next week, starting Monday, I'm doing a 3-day masterclass. It used to be called it is the Idea to Income Challenge, but it used to be called a challenge. It's not, it's a masterclass, because we are not going to challenge ourselves that way, but it's the Idea to Income Masterclass. It's a 3-day event. It's free, online, live. For 3 days, you get to learn where you are on the hero's journey, what scale you're on, what part of the journey you're on, and how to use that to turn your idea into an income, or at least the first three steps that you need to do to start making money from your idea. Or if you already have your product out there, what you can do to make it easier. So where you are on a hero's journey in relation to your business, how you can make that easier and bring more money in so you can have better financial months. And so what we're going to look at is how to plan, what mind drama is happening again. So we're going to look at, again, where you are in a hero's journey and why you're creating that mind drama. Because you could be in a challenging temptations part where your mind is creating challenges and temptations. Or you could be at the transformational level already, where you're in the rebirth now. And so you're looking at where your identity is. Or you could be just at the threshold and it's frightened because it's the unknown. So this will show you and help you where you are in your hero's journey. And then lastly, we're going to look at being an unapologetic goddess. And that is related to the return of the goddess. So but you've got the gifts and you're coming back into the known. How are you going to put that out into the world? Or you've gone for a spiritual awakening and you've got your business sorted out. How can you represent that in an easeful way? I'm about working in alignment with your natural, authentic self. And so this challenge is something that you need to do if you are wanting to scale up, but you want to do it in an easeful way. We don't want to struggle. We also want to make sure we move into the new identity and without the patriarchal brain that we've been conditioned to use. So with that being said, I hope you have a fantastic week. Let me know how you felt this episode was, and I'll put the link in the bio for the 3-day masterclass. I can't wait to see you then. Until then, and me and my rumbly stomach, bye for now. If you want to be part of an incubator of some amazing creative women, then you need to join the Highly Capable Creative one-to-one program with me. To join, you can just contact me at www.mjfontaine.co.uk and book a sales call with me to join this amazing 6-month program where we get to work on your creative business. We also get to work clearing your blocks and also bringing that confidence up to 100 so you can stand in your agency and live your best life.